The writer, the poet writer, William Faulkner once put, "Between grief and nothing, I will take grief." Almost a week ago today, we lost someone that meant more than words can ever imagine in the NASCAR community. Two-time NASCAR Cup Series champion Kyle Busch passed away after a battle with pneumonia at the age of 41. Not only was Kyle an extraordinary race car driver, he was a husband, a father, a brother, and a son. Hello, everyone. Welcome in the Revved Up. As always, I am your host, Carter Leonard. This past week has honestly felt like a month. And words still to this day can't even begin to describe the emotions that the racing world still continues to feel after the passing of Kyle Busch. During last week, I was in the middle of recording a Revved Up episode. It was supposed to be published and scheduled like any other ordinary week. Before the recording, on that very morning, we had gotten news that Kyle Busch had been hospitalized with a very serious illness, and that he would not partake in the weekend's events at Charlotte. Many of us, including myself, knew that it was a very situation, but I don't think any of us could have imagined that it would have transitioned into something worse. Because we just had that one paragraph and that was it. We had then gotten the news that Austin Hill would be piloting that Chevrolet this past weekend for the 600. Then, later in the afternoon, while recording the episode for Revved Up, I got a message notification on my phone. One of the racing group chats that I'm in, particularly on Twitter/X, I saw someone say no. And then it really started to set in for me that something had gone terribly wrong. And then we saw the Jeff Gluck tweet, or at least that was when I found out the news. And then I stopped recording. And that recording will never see the light of day. No matter how long we continue podcasting, that will never see the light of day. When we first began podcasting in 2023, the goal was to cover everything motorsports or NASCAR related. And I think we have done a somewhat decent job of doing that. We miss some things, but when it comes to big topics, we never try to forget to cover them. But never in a million years, or did I ever envision that I would be covering an active driver's death. But that is the unfortunate reality that we are set here today. Needless to say, my thoughts and prayers and deepest sympathies go out to the entire Busch family of Samantha, his son Brexton, his daughter Lennox, his brother and fellow Cup Series champion Kurt Busch, who recently, not too long ago, was inducted into the class of 2026 in the NASCAR Hall of Fame. And I was able to watch that ceremony, and we saw how Kyle was so proud of his bigger brother. To his father Tom, to his mother Gail, and to the entire Busch family. I am so sorry for your tragic loss. This episode, of course, will cover some news topics just like any other Revved Up episode would. And we will try our best to make sure that we hold our heads high and continue to push forward. Because in this industry, that's what Kyle would have wanted. And I think that's what a lot of people who have come and gone in this industry would have wanted too, is for us to not only grieve in our own way, but to also try to find the courage to keep going, even though in that moment in time, it feels like you can't go on. But that person that meant so much to you knows deep down that you and so many others, alive or dead, that they know that you are capable of. And a lot of people have asked me, as you all know, Kyle Busch is, was, and always will be my favorite race car driver of all time. When I first heard the news, I froze. That sentence did not make any sense to me. And quite frankly, as of recording this episode, it still doesn't. Because not too long ago, Kyle Busch, driving the 7 truck for Spire Motorsports, won his 69th and now final career win in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. And just like any Kyle Busch win in any series, he would do a burnout, get out of the truck, grab the checker flag, and do his signature bow. If you would have told me at the time that just a few days later, Kyle Busch would no longer be with us on this planet, I would have said, you are downright insane, and to never joke about something like that. Regardless of how you feel about certain competitors, and whether you like them or you hate you hate them or you want to see them succeed or you want to see them crash out, I think we are all at a very collective agreement that nobody wants to see their life cut short. Whether it's an accident on track or something completely unrelated, seeing something like that happen is something that you wouldn't wish upon your worst enemy. And I feel like that's what a lot of fans have said. I've seen a lot of people have said that they were diehard Kyle Busch fans, or they were against Kyle Busch, or they were against Kyle Busch, or they were somewhere indifferent. It's just one of those things where the racing community has to come together, and we have to realize to ourselves that there's bigger things than racing here, and we have to take a step back and reflect. And I think that's what we all did. And I think that's what we're all still doing right now. I remember the 2009 Las Vegas Spring Race. At the time, it was just Kyle Busch's second season driving the 18 for Joe Gibbs Racing. But coincidentally, at the same time, a 3 going on 4-year-old Carter saw this race unfold on TV. In fact, we kept it on tape for quite a while. And we saw Kyle Busch capture a win at his hometown racetrack. The only time that he had ever won at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And when I saw that M&M car flash on screen and get the win, I said to myself, little did I know at the time, but I was saying to myself, this is the sport that I'm going to continue watching from now on. And so far, I have not looked back since. And I will always appreciate that. He played a big role in my life. He's the main reason why I got into not just NASCAR, but just motorsports, period. Why I'm able to enjoy these certain things. Why I want to work in this industry one day. He was the sole proprietor of that. And I had never met him. I was close during the race day of Kentucky back in 2017. I had gotten close to meeting him, but I was swarmed around a bunch of media and PR representatives as he was walking back to the garage area, and I wasn't allowed to go back in the garage area. I had pit passes, thanks to my dad's place of work, which at the time he had worked for Nationwide Insurance. But unfortunately, it was the closest I'd ever gotten to saying hi to him. And as I got into journalism, my good partner or good friend, as well as former media director at our school, Lucas Kleinmeyer, asked me, "Is that your dream interview? To sit down with Kyle Rowdy Busch?" And I said, "Absolutely. That is my dream interview right there." Unfortunately, that dream has been sadly cut short. And I'm not trying to make it sound like it's about me. This is my own way of grieving. This is my own way of getting out how I truly feel about all this. The man was so relentless as far as his competition was concerned. 234 wins across the 3 National Touring Series of NASCAR. Whether you loved or hated seeing him, in the O'Reilly or Truck Series, no matter what car or truck it was, the guy wanted to go at it and push it as hard as he possibly could, and maybe, just maybe, go in the victory lane that very same day, as with any race car driver would. The impact of this loss has affected the entire sports community. Even people that I know personally who are not involved with NASCAR, but are sports junkies like myself, asked me about this and asked me how I was feeling. And still to this day, I'm hurt. Even some of my friends online from overseas who don't even follow racing, who don't even follow sports, period, they were asking me about this. One of my good friends, who I will not mention their name, from the United Kingdom, asked me, "Did Kyle Busch actually pass away?" And I said, he sadly did. Yes. We will never see a driver like him ever again. We will never see a personality like him ever again. And I think that's what I'm going to miss the most. One of my favorite qualities about him was his interviews. He was honest. He was sometimes brutal with the media. Of course, not in a physical sense, but you get the idea. Some drivers, when they had a bad day, they'll tell you, it wasn't the day that we were looking for, but we'll keep pushing forward and we'll keep going. Kyle Busch would simply tell you, we sucked. It was awful. And we need to do better. And sometimes some people would call him immature for those interviews, but I would just call them simply honest. Not beating around the bush, if you will, and just getting straight to the point. And sometimes I kind of have sarcastic comment myself. I kind of have sarcastic comments on that. So if you ever want to think where some of my snarkiness might come from, and I don't mean to compare myself to this man by any stretch of the imagination, because there's nothing to compare at all. But sometimes you take after your heroes a little bit, and it can be cringe, but you do it out of respect. And sometimes when I gave snarky comments, it was kind of from KB. But not only was he a terrific race car driver, he was a terrific father as well. In the later years of his life, especially after joining Richard Childress Racing in 2023, Kyle seemed to mellow out a lot more. As his family continued to grow after the birth of their daughter Lennox, Kyle, we started to see a version of Kyle that we didn't really think we would be able to see, and that was his personal side with his family. And we saw how terrific of a father he was. And I think that's what really pains me the most, more than anything, of his passing, is the fact that I too, myself, know what it's like to lose a parent. I lost my mom when I was 14 years old. Now, of course, Brexton and Lennox are much younger than that, but the pain still stains. And I could definitely relate to the pain that they're feeling right now. It's truly an unfair thing to happen. And you just hate it. Plain and simple. I mean, there's no other words to describe it. You just hate it. Kyle, you and I may not have met, but you were my hero. Myself and the rest of the industry will miss you dearly. We hope that you're racing up there in the sky with guys like Dale Earnhardt, Davey Allison, Alan Kulwicki, Adam Petty, Kenny Irwin Jr., J.D. McDuffie, Fireball Roberts. The list goes on and on and on. I hope you guys are putting up a show right now in that sky. Thank you. And may you rest in peace. Now, let's talk about Charlotte. Of course, with the tough weekend, I mean, the amount of tributes that you saw from every single team in the garage area, I mean, it's just, whether it was stickers, it was decals, whether it was every driver in the field, wearing a number 8 hat or something, or a Kyle Busch hat of any sort. I mean, it was just, I wasn't alive when Dale Sr. passed away. I was born just 4 years after he passed away. I now know what that must feel like now. I can kind of understand it now. I'm not saying I'm proud to have lived through it. Nobody wanted this to happen. But, it's just, it was insane. But not only did that take place, we still had to go on this weekend, which some fans in the industry asked once again, when Senior passed. How can we go out there and how can we, act like nothing happened? That's what race car drivers do. And I truly believe that if Kyle Busch were here with us right now, he would probably be pretty ticked off that we weren't going racing at all. We do this because we know deep down that's what they would have wanted us to do. And sure, you can make the argument that race car drivers in this industry can be a little bit stubborn, but we know that's what those individuals would have wanted. I believe that would have been the case. It may not seem appropriate in the moment, but that's what they love to do. That's what they love doing on a week-to-week basis. And you never want to take that away from them. Needless to say, the weekend was affected by a lot, whether it was tragedy, Mother Nature, or also the Coke 600 being a day of remembrance for the fallen heroes of our country, Memorial Day weekend, something that you always look forward to seeing every single year because we love honoring those who have made the ultimate sacrifice for this country. And we love honoring those. And I believe Charlotte Motor Speedway, for Lord knows how many years, has done a phenomenal job. And I can attest to this. When I attended in 2024, the work that went into, getting, all these military individuals here, the pre-race ceremonies. I mean, it's unlike anything we have ever seen. And we love continuing this tradition. But it wasn't just Charlotte that was going on this weekend. The whole motorsports community still pressed on. On Sunday, thanks to Above the All Line Media, I was able to write the recap for the 110th running of the Indianapolis 500 for the NTT IndyCar Series, which saw the closest finish in Indy 500 history, with the number 60 of Felix Rosenqvist of Meyer-Shank Racing edge out the number 12 of David Malukas for Team Penske by 0.02333 seconds. The closest in history. Closer than, I believe, whether it was, 2005 or 2006 when Sam Hornish Jr. and Marco Andretti, I believe, was it Marco Andretti or was it Michael Andretti? It was an Andretti when Sam Hornish Jr. won one of the closest finishes. I thought, even though I was barely alive for that, that was as good as we were going to get in regards to that. But nope. And I was glad to have witnessed history. And it gave me a sense of healing, too. On the Fox broadcast, during the Indy 500, they held a silent lap tribute on lap 18 for Kyle. And I thought that was just a terrific gesture for them, to do. And that was really nice. And for the Coke 600, they had a silent lap 8 tribute. But before that, they had the missing man, the missing man formation during the pace laps. And it wasn't just NASCAR that did this. I saw a clip, I believe, I forget what track it was, but the World of Outlaws did that as well. Even Kyle Busch was starting to get into dirt racing a little bit more just because of his son, because he was into it and doing it. We saw him. We did that. So, as far as race coverage, in regards to the O'Reilly's and Truck Series race, there will be much talking about it. Not because of the emotions, but just because, as I mentioned previously, Mother Nature just wanted to go undefeated this weekend. And to some extent, she did. The Truck Series race, which was originally supposed to be ran on Friday night, we didn't even barely get through the opening pace laps. And then the weather started to roll in. Then it was postponed to Saturday morning. And then the O'Reilly Series race. We thought that it was going to get through. We got through the opening stage just fine without any weather, but then it was delayed to the rest of the night, a 4 to 5 hour delay, which ended up seeing Ross Chastain win in a rain-shortened or fog-shortened event because there was a mix of rain and fog, which it wasn't pouring down rain from what I recall. It was just kind of misting, but it was still enough to basically lose the track, unfortunately. And it was just one of those type things. And Ross Chastain, driving the 9 car for Junior Motorsports, picked up the win as he was as he won under caution and under the red flag. And needless to say, a lot of other drivers in the field were pretty furious at this. Mainly the driver of the 2 for RCR, Jesse Love, who wanted to win this race in the honor of Kyle Busch so bad. Jesse has expressed that Kyle was his first hero when he wanted to go stock car racing, and it's gotten him to the point to where he is today, and the defending O'Reilly Series champion. And Jesse just expressed his displeasure basically calling it ridiculous, and was just so upset. And you can't really blame him. But Ross Chastain was able to park it in victory lane, and before giving his signature watermelon smash that he does for any time that he wins, period, in the 3 Touring Series, he would do a signature bow to honor Kyle Busch. And that would be the recurring theme for the entire weekend at Charlotte. Sunday morning, we saw the conclusion to the Truck Series race at Charlotte after a timed scheduled, while the race didn't end under weather conditions, it ended in a time. The Truck Series race had to be done by noon on Sunday in order for festivities to prepare for the Coke 600 later on that afternoon. Lane Riggs, the driver of the 34 truck for Front Row Motorsports, was looking for his second win of the season, and he was practically the dominant truck of the afternoon. There were some other notable names in the field. We saw Travis Pastrana drive the 25 for Colleague Racing and for Ram. Shane Van Gisbergen was also in the field as well, driving for Spire. And then, of course, the 7 truck of Corey Day. Of course, Kyle Busch was originally supposed to run that truck, the patriotic HendrickCars.com Silverado, but Corey Day was able to fill in at the last second, and Day would start from pole, and unfortunately Day's day would end. No coincidence in that sentence whatsoever, coming down the backstretch after he was turned from a late block, and the 7 truck almost nearly went airborne as the back end picked up, but luckily it landed back on 4 wheels, but a massive impact on the driver's side door ended Corey Day's morning/afternoon, but thankfully Day was able to climb from his truck and be checked and released from the infield care center and was okay. But due to time constraints on the final restart, the driver who was out front was going to be declared the winner, and the 34 of Lane Riggs picked up his second win of the Craftsman Truck Series season. His previous win coming back at St. Petersburg back at the 3rd race of the year on a road course. It had been 13 races since Ford in the Truck Series went to victory lane, I believe, on a 1.5 miles or just Charlotte, period. And that last time was when Ben Rhodes won at Charlotte in 2023, coincidentally. And, of course, Lane Riggs was able to park it on the front stretch. And I loved what his crew members did. All of them were standing on top of the wall. And as soon as Lane crossed the start-finish line, every single crew member took a bow. And Lane Riggs, after capturing the checkered flag on the front stretch and parking his University of Charlotte Ford F-150, he himself would do a bow with the checkered flag. Lane said in his post-race interview, "I knew he would be proud of me." And I think Kyle would have been proud of Lane as well. Then came the Coke 600, or as we would call it, the Coke 559 and a half. This race, of course, was going to deal with a lot of emotions. We all know this, as every race this weekend took place with a lot of emotion. But we knew that we had the press on. Practice and qualifying would be canceled due to the rain, so by metric, it would be the 45 of Tyler Reddick starting on the pole, with Ty Gibbs to his inside his outside on the 54. Tyler Reddick would pretty much dominate the beginning part of stage 1, and we would kind of see the Toyotas show their strength early, but the 5 car of Kyle Larson, which it has now been over a year since Larson last won a points-paying race. Yes, Larson won the championship last year, but his last points-paying win came in the spring of 2025, where he won at Kansas. Obviously, we did not do picks this weekend or points picks at all this weekend, out of respect for the Busch family. Initially, we were going to do so, but I asked the other members of Revved Up, both Adam and Emma, and I asked them, do you think it's appropriate if we wanted to do it this weekend? If you guys are still down to do it, we will move forward as planned. They both said no, and it was good enough for me, so we did not do picks. We still did race winner posts at the end, congratulating the winners of each race. But picks There was something bigger than that. The 600 got off to a start with Reddick leading, but the 5 car of Kyle Larson quickly climbed his way to the front and was able to take the lead away from Reddick in the opening stage. Now, the opening stage did see its fair share of incidents. Of course, with the 600, it's 400 laps, so each 3 stages are divided into a 100 lap period of time. So a lot can happen in these stages. The first major incident of the day came from the 2 car of Austin Cindric, who I believe Christopher Bell made contact with him in the back bumper. Maybe it had been just completely incidental, just nothing too egregious. Spin around in turns 1 and 2 and try to come down the racetrack. And it looks like he's going to miss everybody, but unfortunately, the 88 car of Connor Zilic was down on the apron and couldn't get his car pointed in the right direction to avoid Cindric. Ends up spinning himself and clobbering the front end of the 2 car. And both of those drivers' days would be done. Cindric getting probably the worst of it, but thankfully, both those drivers would exit their vehicles uninjured and would be okay. Kyle Larson ended up winning the first stage of the race. Feel like it's really been a minute since we've seen Larson last win a stage. And, not to say that they're in a bad point situation by any means necessary, but, it's kind of just, it's been an odd year, to say the least. And I even disregarding what has taken place, it has been an odd year. But sometimes you'll have those. But anyways, stage 2 began, and that was really when we saw the dominance of the Toyotas up at the front. Mainly with drivers like the 11 of Denny Hamlin, the 19 of Chase Briscoe, which I thought this could be Briscoe's night to really turn things around. You also saw Ty Gibbs up there, as we mentioned previously. He was pretty much inside the top 5 the entire night. But then you had Christopher Bell. Christopher Bell, like Briscoe, has kind of had a rocky start to the year, and we saw him have a pit road penalty in stage 2, which kind of sent him to the back. But we all know that the 600 is a very long race. It's a very long night, and you have time to really reset yourself and try to, basically just try your best to stay calm in those moments, because it's a long night. You don't want to overreact. You don't want to overreact at all, and you want to try your best to make sure that you stay composed in those types of situations. So Bell, while I didn't like the penalty at first, as crew chief Adam Stevens, former Kyle Busch crew chief, stated we didn't like that penalty, but that would not be the last time we would hear of Christopher Bell at all. Stage 2 was pretty much dominated by the entire Toyota group. Stage 2 would conclude with Toyota pretty much continuing to dominate. Denny Hamlin picking up yet another stage win. Stage 3 would pretty much be the same tempo for the most part. We saw some very competitive racing up at the front from the Toyota group. But remember when I said Christopher Bell had that speeding penalty or pit road penalty? Actually, it was an equipment interference penalty where a tire basically rolled out of the box and interfered with another stop. Well, Bell would climb his way all the way back up to the front and claim the Stage 3 victory. And you're thinking, man, this 20 car of Bell is really starting to come to life here. Is this the night that the 20 team finally gets their first win? And Christopher Bell, albeit the win was race short, and he had won the Coke 600 before, but now he could try to win this thing on pure pace without any sort of rain or weather helping him whatsoever. Stage 4 would be the most unique one of the night, not only because it decides the winner, but also because of what basically took place. We saw a lot of wildness in the final stage. We saw some big wrecks down the back straightaway. The Ross Chastain, last year's winner of the Coke 600, him and Stenhouse made contact on the back straightaway. That would send the one down the back stretch, sideways and slamming the inside wall. Then the following restart, you had SVG take the lead. And shout out Shane Van Gisbergen, man. We talked about, how his oval work is starting to get better and better as time goes along. I really think Charlotte proved something. Obviously, the finish that he had didn't really reflect it, but it it did for me. It did. The night was really special for SVG. But back to Rex. We had another big one down the back straightaway involving Chase Briscoe, who kind of got sent back in traffic a little bit on the following restarts due to some pit stops. But he was trying to make his way back through the field. He was trying to dive down low and down the back stretch because he had a run. In front of him was the 17 of Chris Buescher. Buescher tried to throw, looked like a little bit of a block, but just Chase didn't really have enough time to react there. So that got the 17 into him. The 17 went back up to the track and tagged his teammate, the 60 of Ryan Preece, and just basically all hell broke loose down the back straightaway. A lot of torn up race cars from there on out, which then led to another restart. And then the 10th caution of the night was due to weather in the area. There was some lightning in the area, and they were taking a really close look at the radar there and just trying to see, how big of the storms were coming. And initially it looked like that there was a patch in the radar where we could probably get the rest of the race in, because we only had a little over 30 to go. And, unless cautions come out, those laps can fly by in a big hurry, if you're definitely careful at least. But we were kind of racing towards a little bit of a rain in the pop-up shower because we were already well past the halfway point of the race. So it was good. It would look like it was going to be a little bit of a race for rain. And then during green flag pit stops, you saw a good chunk of the leaders come down pit road. But one driver, that being the 7 car of Daniel Suarez, decides to take 2 tires instead of 4. And due to this, he was able to leave off pit road first and was able to get the lead the following restart with about 32 laps to go. Now, if you really weren't paying attention to the weather, you're thinking to yourself, okay, Suarez might lead for a few laps, and then somebody on fresher tires is going to inevitably pass them, myself included, because I really did not know how fast that 7 car was going to be. I really had no clue, whatsoever. But we got about maybe 4 laps of green flag action. Then the rain came with 28 to go. As soon as Denny Hamlin in second was about to make a pass on Suarez for the race win, the caution immediately comes out due to weather. It was raining pretty hard in turns 1 and 2, which then led to a red flag with 27 laps to go. And then it was called official. Daniel Suarez, a former Kyle Busch Motorsports driver and for Spire Motorsports, wins the 2026 Coca-Cola 600. Also, most notably, a Coca-Cola racing family driver as well. So, advertisements, and more advertisements. But third career win for Suarez and the third overall win for Spire Motorsports. And Spire joins Joe Gibbs Racing as the only 2 teams to have multiple drivers win for them this year. Of course, Hamlin and Gibbs have wins so far, and now Hocevar and Suarez have wins. But, of course, you could see the emotion out of Daniel Suarez's face afterwards, just crying, just, he wanted to do it for Kyle. And, Daniel Suarez during the week, after the unfortunate news, he talked about how when he came to the United States after being born and raised in Monterrey, Mexico, to go chase his dreams of being a race car driver, that Kyle Busch was one of the first to really help him understand the English language, and, help him with that, and, was able to give him a ride in the Truck Series and get him to where he is now today. And, Daniel Suarez, of course, one of the more likable guys in the garage area. And when it was announced that he be driving the 7 car for Spire, expectations, I think, were amongst all of us very limited. And we asked him, man, is this his last chance to really prove himself in Cup? Because what we thought was going to be his forever home when he was driving for Trackhouse since, for about 5 years, they went on and moved on and, put Connor Zilch in that seat. And now I'm not saying Trackhouse is ever going to regret signing Connor Zilch, but it makes you wonder if they gave up on him too soon. And honestly, I don't know. Had it gone green, I don't know if Suarez would have been able to hold on. But the fact that a KBM driver, regardless, was able to win this race, I think that really speaks volumes. And a little fun fact. So the drivers, all 3 drivers that won this weekend, Lane Riggs drove the 34, Ross Chastain drove the 9, and Daniel Suarez, of course, drives the number 7. 34 minus 9 minus 7 equals 18. I don't believe in coincidences, except for this time. I think we really, truly did it for Rowdy this weekend. And honestly, I don't think I would have wanted it any other way. So there you have it. But anyways, that'll do it for the Charlotte recap portion of the show. Ladies and gentlemen, we have few parts and pieces of news to talk about, but of course today's episode was mainly just talking about, how Kyle Busch was and what he meant, to this world and to the racing community. But we also wanted to talk about racing, and that we have. Now, let's look forward to Nashville this weekend, ladies and gentlemen. Nashville Super Speedway, a track that I have been to. I went to the inaugural Cup race in 2021, the Cracker Barrel 400. I think we're just looking to put Charlotte behind us, and we're looking forward to even brighter and sunnier days in Nashville, even if it means that we are without someone. But I can guarantee you that we'll get through this together, and the days will get brighter and sunnier, and we'll do this together. You don't have to be alone. But pressing forward now, we look forward to Nashville's schedule this upcoming weekend. All 3 series will be presented this weekend for the final race of the month of May. Let's take a look at it, shall we? So, on Friday, May 29th at 4 p.m., we will have Truck Series practice at qualifying. On FS1, practice will begin at 4 p.m. with qualifying following right after at 5:05 p.m. And then at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the Craftsman Truck Series will go night racing under the lights at Nashville Super Speedway on FS1. Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the O'Reilly Series it will also be at Nashville. Practice for them will begin at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with qualifying following right after at 3:05. Those could be streamed on the CW app. And then at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series will race under the lights at Nashville, and that will be on CW Sports. Continuing the Saturday trend, on Saturday, May 30th, practice for the Cup Series will begin at 4:30 with qualifying following right after at 5:40 p.m. And then on Sunday, May 31st, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we will race the Cracker Barrel 400, 300 laps, 400 miles, and that will be streamed on Prime Video. Prime's second race of their 5 scheduled Cup Series races for this upcoming week. Now let's get into race picks, ladies and gentlemen. Um, Adam and Emma finally have their picks for this week, which, of course, we did not do picks out of respect to the Busch family this past week because, with some things, there's just bigger things in life than racing right now. Just silly little picks on a silly little podcast in front of however many people that we normally have on a week-to-week basis. But we continue to press on. So, Emma's pick for this weekend for the Truck Series race is the 17 of Gio Ruggiero. Not a bad pick. I feel like Gio has really had some mixed results as of late, and he's definitely capable of running up front. I know the Tricon trucks, with him and Honeycutt, they're definitely capable of running up at the front. If Caden is able to get his win, I wouldn't be shocked if Gio gets his soon. But Emma's going with a 17 of Gio Ruggiero. For Adam's Truck Series pick, he's going to stay on the Ford train, which I know if he was here, he would definitely be pretty pissed, considering that he is a General Motors guy first. But he is going to go with the 88 truck of Ty Majeski. I'm still going to be completely honest with you guys. Even as far as we are into this portion of the year, I still think that the 88 Menards truck is Matt Crafton from time to time. And I think a lot of people can agree with me on that. But it is not. It is Ty Majeski, former Truck Series champion of the series, still looking for his first win of the year, and believe Ty Majeski is still on a winless streak as well. Did he win last year? Ty Majeski, despite being the champion 2 years ago, he has not won a race in almost 2 years. He did not win at all in 2025. He had 0 wins, 10 top 5s, and 18 top 10s. Had an average start of 9.1, but had an average finish of 9.8. So, statistically speaking, it wasn't the worst season of all time. But he just couldn't get it done and get in the victory lane. But Adam believes that will change, and we will see him in victory lane on Friday night. I am going to go with one of the truck regulars as well. I know we have some other guys in the field who will be, racing. Cletus McFarland will be back in the truck this weekend. Carson Ferguson will be driving the Ram All-Star truck. You also have Jesse Love and Rajah Caruth. Rajah Caruth, the defending winner at Nashville just a year ago, driving that Spire truck, will be in the 7, and Jesse Love will be in the 77, which I kind of find funny that both of those guys will be teammates on Friday night, considering that in the O'Reilly series this year they've had a bit of their run-ins so far, but I believe they still have a mutual respect for each other. So there you have it with that. But I'm going to stay on the regular truck train, and I'm going to go with the 11 truck of Caden Honeycutt. After he got his first win, which mind-boggling when was at a road course, you have to wonder when that first oval win will come. And I'm thinking, why not Music City? Why not Nashville? So give me the 11 truck to win on Friday night. For Saturday's O'Reilly Auto Parts Series race, I was originally going to go with one particular guy, but Adam took my pick, so I'm going to have to go with somebody a little bit different. Starting out with Emma's pick, she's going to go with the 20 car of Brandon Jones to win. Brandon Jones still looking for his first win of the year. I can't remember where did Brandon Jones finish at Nashville last year? Let's see. He finished 13th. So, his results have been a little bit mixed, and that's been driving with 2 different teams. Started 12 in 2021. He started 12th, finished 6th. The year after, finished 28th after starting 6th. Finished 20th the following year. 14th the following year, and finished 13th. So he's kind of been around that mid-ish sort of area, but Emma has faith in her pick, so I'll give her credit. I'll give her the benefit of the doubt. She'll take the 20 of Brandon Jones. Adam will take the 17 of Corey Day. I guess after Corey Day's win at Dover, I guess he's got the concrete figured out, and we're going to yet another concrete track. So, why not go with the 17? So Adam will take Corey Day. I originally was also going to pick Corey Day, but since Adam took my pick, I will be taking the 7 car of Justin Allgaier. I don't know what it is with Allgaier in Nashville, but he has gotten this place just absolutely figured out here. And I want to look up the stats here. Has it been like 3 out of the last 4 he's managed to win? I'll have to check here. So since returning in 2021, if I can look up the stats since 2021. So when you look at his stats, so in 2021 he finished second. 2022 he swept all stages. 2023 fifth place, 2024 eighth place, and then 2025 started fourth, swept both stages, led 101 laps, and won the race. So if there's anybody that can get it done in the series at Nashville, it's that 7 car. So give me Justin Allgaier. Then for the main event on Sunday, ladies and gentlemen, this is where the podcast points will resume. The points don't reset or anything. They have stuck to where they are. Adam, since he's the points leader, he will go first. He has taken the 20 car of Christopher Bell to win at Nashville. Bell got so close to winning at Charlotte. You have to wonder if him and Adam Stevens and that 20 team for JGR have really found their momentum, and just Toyota as a whole, this whole entire year so far has been strong. It's only a matter of time before a guy like Bell or Briscoe is going to get in the victory lane, but he is going to go with Bell. Since I'm second in points, I will go next with my pick. I'm going to go with a guy who has proven that he's gotten the victory lane before. And out of all the Cup picks so far that we have for this weekend, this guy, the guy that I'm picking, has only been in the victory lane out of these names. But I am going to go with the 9 car of Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott has putting together so far, despite after a DNF at Charlotte, he is still putting together what might be his best season in the next gen era. And that's comparing it to his 2022 season where he won 5 races. But we're talking consistency wise, that is where he has really shined. As somebody has sent me a voicemail. I don't know what the hell that was. It was my sister, but she can wait for a little bit. But yeah, I'm taking the 9 car of Chase Elliott to win. I am home. But anyways, sorry for the silence there. I was just texting my sister. Everything's all good. So yeah, give me the 9 car Chase Elliott, and Emma, last but certainly not least, she is gonna go with the 23 car of Bubba Wallace to win. Pretty unique pick. I don't know what Bubba's average finish at Nashville is. I could definitely look that up here. So far, in his why can't they show his he holds an average finish of 13.5 at Nashville. So he's kind of in that top 15 area-ish type of spot. So there you have it with that. So those are our picks for this weekend, ladies and gentlemen. And as always, thank you all so much for listening into this week's episode of Revved Up. Tune in next week as we preview High Speed at Michigan International Speedway. And once again, Our deepest condolences go out to the entire Busch family. As always, I am your host, Carter Leonard, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.